noticing, like, maybe this is creepy, but I'm noticing your house. What do you think about this weird, like, millennial gray modern that everyone does? Because looking at your doors and the paint and everything, it looks like, I don't know, it looks sophisticated, you know?
It looks like I despise the modern farmhouse design.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
So that's
There's,
intentional?
yeah, there's a church in
City.
that was built by the German immigrants there to the city, including some members of my family,
Uh-huh.
and it was built in this Gothic revival style.
Hmm.
And if you go look at it now, it's being used as a wedding venue, and they completely gutted the inside and painted everything white.
Oh, that's horrible.
That is like when I found that out, I was crushed. Yeah, this
Yeah.
is a late 1800s farmhouse, and so we went with the classic, painting all the walls in bright Victorian type colors,
Really?
the woodwork. Yes,
Wait. So is everyone in your family like that?
we like to appreciate the fact that this is a classicalist
Yeah,
Victorian building, and we don't want to ruin that look with a
I see.
something that doesn't. Like if there's a modern brutalist type building, I'm not going to care if someone has that all.
Yeah,
Like it's not personally my taste, but I don't care about
yeah.
that. I just can't
Hmm.
stand when people do that to other things that are clearly
Yeah.
like just appreciate it for what it is.
Hmm. Yeah, just looking at those doors, the door frame, they look exactly like the door frame to my dad's house. Like exactly the same because his house is like 100 years old.
Oh, nice. I love that.
Yeah. Well, it's over 100 years old. But my when you're talking about that church that got gutted and it's all white now, that reminds me of the church that my wife grew up in. It was like just a normal kind of I don't know, like kind of country, sort of homely kind of church. It was a big building. They had a large congregation, but it was like a normal looking, kind of 60s, 70s looking sort of homely church.
Yeah.
And then around like 2015, they've just completely like gutted the inside. They did the whole fog machine, dark building, mega church style.
Oh.
And I don't know.
I looked up the because the church that I'm talking about, it's Universalist. So I mean, and it was back then too. So don't agree
It was,
with
is a Universalist church?
it was a Universalist church. Yeah,
Oh, okay. Well, no.
but the architecture, the interior was great.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
looked at the new one that they have, and it's some what I personally would consider ugly. Like it for what it is. I'm glad that they built their own thing to do with that, rather than
Yeah.
doing what the new owners of the building did. But
Yeah. That is kind of weird that like a Universalist church would be beautiful because like when I've been in like a cathedral before and
Yeah.
immediately your eyes are drawn up and it gives you something to like aspire to, like whereas like a Universalist church, it feels like I feel like it'd be okay to walk in and it just looks like a Chili's,
that's
and you're
true.
like,
That's true.
let's just hang out, just kind of exist till the eschaton. So
The thing is, with them, since it was, coming from a lot of them came from Bavaria, Hesse, places, different sort of semi-southern German states. So they had that same sort of style to them. So even though they weren't trying to be all super churchy, it was just like this is what a church is supposed to look like. So
oh, okay. Wait, they weren't trying to make it look like a church?
no, they were trying to make it look like a church, but
Uh-huh.
yeah. So it's not like they were trying to make it look super cathedral-ish or
Oh, okay. Okay.
this is their idea of a church is inspired by classical
Uh-huh.
German design, so they're going to build
I
it
see.
in classical German style. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Wait,
Even
so
if
what
uh,
so what elements of the church would look kind of familiar to like a I don't know, like a German church or
it would look more like it would honestly look more like a Lutheran church.
uh-huh.
So it's something that's sort of simplistic, but it also does explore the form rather than the function. If you're,
Oh, okay.
art.
Yeah.
So it does explore things that enhance the form. It has good woodwork. It has
Hmm.
a lot of carpentry because a lot of them were craftsmen, carpenter type people. It's got good stonework, good,
Hmm.
and so it's something that's a little more definitely not like a Catholic or Orthodox. You walk
Hmm.
in, these grandiose
Yeah. Yeah. Mm.
icons, 30 million icons of every saint who ever existed on the wall,
Yeah.
ceiling. But it
Hmm.
would, yeah, if you were to walk into that church, it would look similar to walking into a Lutheran church.
Hmm. What? So I know you're like a history guy, and then you also like art and just kind of general sort of I don't know, how would you describe yourself in that?
Uh, a nerd.
I guess that's yeah, okay, I guess that's fair.
Yeah, kind of just.
Um like you strike me as the kind of guy who would like insist on wearing like a suit to a megachurch.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
I mean,
So
you remember how I dressed when I went to the
yeah.
service when we went to the same.
Yeah. So what do you think, I don't want to say what went wrong with, well, okay, yeah, I'll just say what went wrong.
What went wrong?
Yeah, with like I understand certain churches, it's out of like practical necessity that they look like a stadium and an arena
Right.
because they're so large that they have to kind of design it that way in order to fit all those people. But like a church that only has like 100 people, like that's enough to where the pastor can actually be a pastor and actually have a
Yeah,
role in everyone's lives.
motivational public speaker type guy.
Yeah, like I guess I don't understand the need to like if you have 100 people in your church, it does feel kind of odd to me to insist on like doing the whole like leather jacket thing and being like a cool guy. No, I'm not even trying to make a joke.
Well, I know what you mean.
Yeah,
That's laughably.
yeah, yeah. No, like I don't see the. I understand like if you're Joel Osteen, you really can't talk to everybody. You're
Right.
too
So it makes
famous.
sense to just go full auditorium style.
Yeah, but if you have like 100 people in your congregation, it doesn't make any sense. Like, because it seems like people they'll criticize the idea of like priests' investments and everything because
Yeah.
it's like, oh, they're all the way up there, but like the guy in the leather jacket that does nothing for me as like a blue collar guy. I feel kind of put off by that. You know what I mean?
But it's what did I used to call it because growing up poor and everything, growing up very blue collar in that sort of regards. Anytime I saw people do that, you'd go to a public event, like I was gallery curator, we'd go to the gallery event. I would try to dress up nice, at least sports coat and button,
Hmm.
something like that.
Yeah,
And you have all of the, super hip, richer
yeah,
people who it's like they've got hole in the jeans and like a rugged
uh huh,
jeans they paid $300 for at some
yeah,
like it's like they want to look poor, but the poor people want to look rich.
yeah.
Yeah,
I,
I can't. I had
yeah.
a catchy term for it, and I forgot it. But
Mhm. Yeah, there is some term. It's something like privileged something. I forget the exact term, but
yeah,
it's where like the more wealthy and affluent you are, you can get away with doing stuff like sleeping around until you're 35 and then having or like I don't know, dropping out of college to do an art career or something.
there's
But
people who are like backpackers and
yeah,
like
yeah,
all third world countries, and they're just like, oh, I just quit my job, and now look how happy I am because I'm exploring the world. And it's like,
yeah.
that's cool. I'm happy for you, but I can't exactly just drop what I'm doing and go
Hmm.
hike in Nepal or something.
Yeah, it's like or the one that really annoys me is the van life thing where now I hesitate to like I try not to talk about like race stuff a lot, but like if there's a thing as white privilege, I'd say I'd say it's like it's specifically van life.
And life, very, yeah, very, very white privilege chic.
Yeah, no, because like if it's like a cute little white girl living in a van, it's like, oh, it's all
Hip and
hip and cool and whatever. It's some black dude, it's like, call the cops. What's he doing?
yeah, what's he
It,
doing? Sleeping in his van? He's
I, I saw this, my wife showed me some, TikTok or whatever, and it was some like girl in like a very like gaudy, well, it wasn't gaudy. It was some like pink, like hot pink outfit in like, New York City. And she was listening to like over ear headphones and she was like skipping and singing along to the song. And the caption said something like, I wish I had her, confidence. And
yeah,
then when I saw that, I immediately thought, ooh, if that was like anybody else, you'd be afraid of that person.
like side eye. What is this crazy person doing on.
Yeah. Because I've met that guy and he was like on drugs and he was outside of Kroger.
Exactly. Because I've where I grew up in
City.
or I guess I probably
Yeah, I can cut that if you want.
but where I grew up in there was like there used to be a mental asylum that a lot of the people were released at one point closed down. And so
Yeah.
you'd be walking along the sidewalk and there's some old raggedy dude and he's messed out, clearly some sort of mental disorder, and he's like, wants to like fight you for the ownership of the crosswalk, and you got to stand off and hold your ground and push him, keep like away, and then you can cross the street. And a lot of people, they're listening to music in their head or whatever.
Yeah.
Makes you think of that girl where she's just that's what they're doing in their heads, but then they try to stab you with
No, I just imagine like the guy and he's wearing like his baggy, like tattered clothing, and they're like, wow, I wish I could have his confidence. Just like living on the street, eating garbage.
He is living his true self, his pure self. Not someone who needs help and needs medication and therapy and he's living his truth. He is.
Yeah.
A brave
no, what you're saying about the art gallery and dressing a certain way there. I remember my wife and we went to this sort of fancy-ish restaurant, and we've only been there twice in the past 2 years, so it's like a special occasion place. And I looked online. So you have to make a reservation to go there. I look online, and it says, "Oh, wear like dress clothes or whatever."
Right. Yeah.
And
something like that.
Yeah, and so
this meeting is being recorded.
What was that?
Thank you for the
lit.
You're there. Thank you. I wouldn't have known.
We go to this restaurant, and it's like, oh, you dress nice or whatever. And I wear a suit. My wife wears like a nice dress. We go there, and we go inside. We sit down, and then we just start laughing because we look around. We're not laughing at people, but we felt dumb because we look around and people are wearing shorts.
Right.
Like they're wearing shorts, they're wearing hats.
Better than all of them. You go all out, do it.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I always feel kind of like I feel like a dweeb doing that, like a dork a little bit.
I know what you mean. But I if I like to dress like that, I told myself I'm just going to do it. I feel
like if you don't draw attention to it, it's okay.
Yeah, if you don't go too flashy or whatever. That's why I like a sport coat button down sort of. You can even wear that with jeans and that draws down your But
I do feel like see, for you it looks normal. Like you don't look like you're wearing a costume. But I feel like a lot of times when people are trying to start dressing well, they end up like trying to wear suits like Jordan Peterson, and they just look like they're doing an impression, and it doesn't work.
He's got. I could have a few words about his suits. I was going to mention that later on because I was going to mention him with something that we can.
Oh wait, what?
I was going to mention him how he he talked about postmodernism a lot, and I was going to talk about postmodernism, and I was going to say, if you've heard anything about postmodernism, forget it, because people like Jordan Peterson, one thing that really annoys me about him is he uses postmodernism as some sort of like big scapegoat, and he it's this cabal of postmodernists, and they're all out to get you, and they're all doing this thing. And I feel like the way he uses it is he just thinks he considers himself a bit of a classicalist, and so he says modernism is bad, postmodernism is scarier version of modernism. So that's going to be but then if you look at him, like his suit styles are the most postmodern suit styles I have ever seen. And I just think that's hilarious. Like he clearly doesn't know what postmodernism is.
There was what was his book? It's Explaining Postmodernism by Stephen Hicks. You know that one?
No, I don't know this one.
I haven't read the whole thing. I read part of it, but it seems like the gist of it was just postmodernism is just anything that I don't like.
It's pretty much what everybody does, and like if you actually look at postmodernism, like a lot of people they treat it like it's just like a scarier version of modernism. Modernism,
Yeah.
postmodernism worse, but
Mhm.
postmodernism was created as a reaction against, or
Mhm.
it wasn't really created, but it sort of formed as a reaction against modernism.
Yeah.
And I feel like people completely miss that.
Yeah. So tell me if you think this is true. Does it seem like there's a tendency with like so I don't really see Jordan Peterson doing this exactly, but a lot of like people sort of right wing adjacent sort of people, there's a tendency to actually, okay, can I use an example? Like when they talk about art, they go, "Oh, all of those postmodern art sucks," for them, the ideal art is just like landscapes, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So like this idea that like um, you're wanting to go backwards to basically, essentially, what, like modernism? Is that what they'd be wanting to go backwards to?
Well, sort of. They say that they want to go back to classicalism, and they
Mhm.
whenever they talk about their values of aesthetics and beauty, it goes to modernism, classicalism. But they do use modernism, like certain like modern art, like Vincent Van Gogh is a
Mhm.
modern artist, and they
Mhm.
will use examples of him to make their points about classicalism, and they'll use lots of modern. So I think it's just as time goes on, we're so far moved away from the modern
Yeah.
that they consider that as a
Yeah.
going back. So yeah, I think you're right.
Mhm.
They want to go back. It's basically just past good.
Yeah. But it's just it's stuff in the past that I like versus you know.
Exactly, because there's plenty of wacky stuff in the classical eras and the modern eras that
Mhm.
I personally wouldn't like, and I'm pretty sure they wouldn't like either. And some
Yeah. Yeah, well, then it's also that combined with that, like whenever you talk to people who will say like, yeah, older music was much better, like that's not true.
it's exactly the
That's
same.
I will say that our current culture is much more what's the right word? Decadent, you know, and it's a little lazier. So, but we still have good music now. But their argument is like, yeah, I'm trying to think of was like a band from the 80s. Yeah, like Queen or
Yeah,
whatever. And it's like, yeah, but there's also some dumb band
there's
called
some really dumb bands.
something like Kings or whatever, and we don't remember them because they sucked.
Exactly,
we
we
only
only remember the good ones.
Yeah, well, like the perfect example is like take like Bach, for example. We only listen to like 96% of his music, you know, or just really even all we only listen to like some 90 some percent of all classical music ever made. We don't listen to all the other stuff because it
Yeah, we listen
probably
to
sucks.
popular Bob.
The stuff that like resonated and actually was good sticks around over time.
Exactly, and he has
Mhm.
plenty. He's written so many stuff. There's so much stuff. I can't remember. Same with all the other composers and everything. They have throughout their careers. We know just a small percent of what they've
Yeah,
written because that's what was culturally relevant.
yeah, that is funny though. Like, because I tend to find that annoying where you know, uh, people will like they'll get at like the crazy kind of like lefty people, and they'll say, "Oh, you guys are denying truth, and you're denying all this and that," but then they want to just return to like the sort of rational materialism,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Yeah, and I don't like that.
No, they. I don't think they think things through. They just it's just like this weird dichotomy of past good, future bad.
Mhm.
I just
Yeah, but yeah.
I feel like well because they go by classicalist values and classicalism really highly values Greco-Roman styles of
Mhm.
art, but what they value along with Greco-Roman styles that we know, they also have this sort of skewed image of
Mhm.
Greco-Roman art because it was sort of rediscovered in the Renaissance. So
Mhm.
classical is really neoclassical because it's trying to recreate Greco-Roman,
Yeah.
and it's from a view of looking at them at the past. So we don't,
Mhm.
they didn't, the classical movement did not see everything that had to do with. They see this idealized version of Greco-Roman, and
Mhm.
we are idealizing their idealized view of the Greco-Roman style.
Yeah.
And so there's really just no basis for it. There's no. Whenever I've had discussions or arguments with people like that, I cannot find anyone to qualify their statements for why classical stuff is better. It's just because they just say because it's beautiful,
Mhm.
this isn't, and this is
Yeah.
because it's beautiful. There's sort of this tie in with
Mhm.
aesthetics and
Yeah.
morality, and then they just drop that and they leave and they don't say anything else, and
Yeah.
then they disqualify it.
Yeah, well, and there's always this sort of like dichotomy where they go like, yeah, look at Michelangelo's David, isn't this great? And they'll compare that to something like some kind of like horrible like sacrilegious sort of piece. They go, there's no reason why this should exist. And I go, yeah, I know,
Yeah,
but
it's horrible.
there's more in between here.
Yeah, there's not. So yeah, again, more weird dichotomies. I feel like that's
Hmm.
a label you could throw on that whole is just
Yeah,
dichotomy movement.
and I personally I don't actually like the Renaissance kind of like Greco-Roman style. I don't like all that stuff really.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a fan of like putting like sort of like quasi like erotic art in church, you know? I feel like
I had a feeling you were going to get to that.
yeah, no, I just
guys all over the.
yeah, no, I think it's absurd. I think it's legitimately absurd. I think that I don't know. I actually don't have like a very thought out opinion about it. I just know. See, now I'm just doing what most people do, but like I know when I look at that, I just don't like it.
Well, I think that's actually a good segue into. So my understanding of art, I go by the postmodern philosophy, and there's a difference between postmodern art and postmodern philosophy, but I'll get to that later. But under postmodern philosophy, the idea is that it's sort of an anti-structuralist, where these super narrow structures that define things like modernism or classicalism or hedonism or all these different things that people have ideas, they're just too narrow and too constrictive, and they don't encompass everything. It's a pluralist philosophy. So if like it's anti, what is the word? Dualism. It's not dualistic. And there's even branches off of dualism, like I call quadrilateralism, where like things like the political compass, where it appears more nuanced because it's not solely dualism, but if you look at it, it is dualism. It's just slightly more broken down dualism. And then something else like the 16 personalities, which is Gordon Peterson's favorite, but those are just 4 quadrants within a dualistic. So it's just like, and so postmodernism is sort of this anti-structuralist, where in a pluralist thing where there is no easily defined structures and things like that are good or bad or in this easy to understand in that sort of way. So it's semi-relativist, or it's very relativist, but I'm more of a semi-relativist in this regard. But so when you say that you don't like that Greco-Roman style of art, that's all right, because that's just what you feel in your opinion. You look at that and you don't like that. Someone else could look at that and absolutely see the beauty in it and consider that beautiful. So that's sort of the postmodern. That's the postmodern view that I take, where it's sort of, but there is another way which you kind of see more with postmodern art, which is all structure is bad. So that either all structure is equal in it, all equally good, which is sort of what I take. Modern art is great, can be great. Classical art can be great. Something isn't great just because it's modern or just because it's classical, and something isn't bad just because it's modern, just because it's classical. Anything can be good. And there's this subjectivity to it where I could see something and I think that's really beautiful, because I do like a lot of classical art and a lot of specifically Baroque. I love the Baroque. Yeah. But then you might not appreciate that as much as I do. It's so beautiful to me, not so much beautiful to you.
Yeah.
The other more popular way of postmodern, I don't know, I'm splitting into two.
Oh, you're fine.
The dualistic sort of anti-postmodern stuff. So it's not the only only thing, but there's really the biggest version of postmodernism I see is where all structure is bad. And so rather than saying classicalism can be good, modernism can be good, it's like all structure is good. Only good art you can have is art that contains no structure, no function, no form. And it's sort of like
Wait, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So is that essentially like okay, so I don't know Plato very well, but is the idea like if you can kind of capture the true essence of it, right? That's more of a better, like, the idea is to get away from the material and get into the, like, the essence of it, or what?
Yeah, that's a good way
Okay.
to capture the
Huh.
essence.
Okay.
Although I don't like Plato's forms.
Really?
I think that's too structured and too
Hmm.
too simplistic, in my
Yeah.
opinion. It's too. I don't think that any. I don't know. This is where I get into my wacky philosophy. Is I don't think that the human mind is capable of fully understanding things of the world because we're not the ones who
Yeah.
create it. We are
See,
part of
yeah, that's
objects.
actually really cool. That, oh, sorry, I'm sorry. You're
No,
saying? No, that's what's cool about what you're just saying there, because I was gonna say a similar thing about, like, anti-structuralism. Is that
yeah,
how you phrase that? Because yeah, you can't. There's no way that you can actually get beyond your own
exactly.
understanding. We are embodied, so we're only going to contemplate things that are also embodied too. So, like, maybe we can see the greatest expression of, like, I don't know, landscape
Yeah,
painting or what. We might be able to, like, see and acknowledge this might be one of the best expressions of that, might be closer to the form, but it can't, like, escape the. Is that what you get? What I'm saying?
yeah. I get it. Yeah,
In the same sense that, like, that's kind of like the idea with, like icons, Christian icons, where the idea is to kind of capture the essence, but it still has to be embodied, though.
right.
Because, like, the essence, spirit, you're kind of saying the same thing, but, like, that they're with Christ in heaven. So, like, the idea that you're gonna just, like, how are you gonna,
The
you
icons
know,
aren't saints. It's not, but they are sort of trying to capture an essence of the saints.
yeah, no, yeah, exactly, yeah.
So you're kind of getting at the criticism that you're all just a bunch of idol worshippers for having icons.
Oh, I
Yeah.
actually wasn't thinking about that at all. I don't actually think of. I had a conversation with like, I recorded another podcast with Jacob, and
Watch that.
oh, you did?
I watched all of your videos right before you deleted them.
Oh, yeah,
I went
sorry.
back and they were all deleted. I was like, oh, I got in right at the
Yeah, okay,
very
so I probably put some of those back up. I didn't delete them; they're just private. But I'll probably put some of those back up. I wanted to steer clear of, like, the more. Well, okay, it's not like it's the political stuff is that I have a problem with. It's
Yeah.
the I came across as smug sometimes, and I was like, I don't like that. I don't like rewatching some of those. Like, I can acknowledge that some of them were, like, objectively put together pretty well, but I didn't like my tone in some of them.
No,
So
I can definitely see what you were saying.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But so I just, yeah.
I can
So
definitely see why you removed them or took them down, but I do feel privileged to have seen them before.
oh, yeah, yeah. No, yeah. I recorded that with Jacob, and whenever we talk about, like, wait, what did we just say a second ago?
Iconoclasm.
Yeah, okay. Whenever we would talk about, like, if it would get into, like, Christian stuff and, like, Orthodox stuff, I just feel, like, weird talking about that
I remember
publicly.
you saying that you don't want to get too much into it because you don't want to feel like you're trying to represent something that you're not. Fully.
Yeah, that, and then also, like, I don't, on one hand, on one hand, I don't want to, like hide that aspect of me. On the other hand, I don't want to, like, trap somebody and be like, okay, we're going to hammer out this idea here. Like, I don't want to waste time talking about, like, what Catholicity and Catholic and apostolic means. I don't want to talk about that because we're not going to get anywhere with that. But
I do take a more what is the word, a view that has a better light on Catholicism and Orthodoxy than a lot of Protestants you see. I don't go for the whole, like, you're all idol worshippers for.
yeah.
And if you get back to postmodernism, I have a postmodern view of the church.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that, like I was saying, all structures are good, all traditions are good, so long as, and that's where it's not fully relativist, is so long as it falls within things that we know to be true through the Bible, which is God's revealed word.
Yeah.
So that there's, canonicity, issues, whatever. But I think, for the most part, Christians can agree. So, like, a form that I would say was wrong is, the Latter-day Saints or the Jehovah's Witnesses, because it contradicts things that we see in God's clear word. But aside from that, it falls within those bounds that we clearly know and understand to be right or wrong because of what God's revealed to us. Any form, any structure within that is good. And so Methodism, Lutheranism, Catholicism, Orthodoxy, I think it is all beautiful. It is all within that bounds. So
actually, can I actually give you sort of the like argument for the church? And I also don't want to pressure you on anything.
No, you're good.
But here's kind of the idea is if like people will use the creed, like they'll say the Nicene Creed, as a basically will acknowledge everything about the Trinity up until the point where it says one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church.
Yeah.
And so the way I always view the idea of Catholicity, I saw a video by, you know who Gavin Ortland is?
I don't actually know.
He's like a Protestant, I think he's like a Bible scholar. He's really bright and he's a very nice guy. But he made a video about like why like Protestantism better falls under the category of Catholicity because it just means what's the most universal, you know? So like in terms of essence, right? That might be true. I think that might be true. But it also has like structure too. One holy, like, so you think of it like there's a spirit and then matter, you know? So there's like Catholic, Apostolic, and they join into one and there's a church. So like I think the church can be comparable to the idea of scripture where it's like written by God. This was like God breathed, but written by man. So there's that union between heaven and earth, not in the same way that like the incarnation is, but you can imagine it as like a similar idea that God consistently does that. So like people talk about like Catholicity a lot. They talk about like, oh, this one's more universal, but there's also the like apostolic part, if that makes any sense.
This meeting is being recorded.
I wonder if I can turn that off.
That didn't happen with Jacob.
Yeah. I don't know.
Against me. It wants to silence me.
Yeah.
Screen's gonna go black and I'm gonna get pulled away by the
What are you drinking there?
That is a chai that was I purchased from a old tea shop, and it was
Middle East,
mildly fermented in honey for 6 months.
Where'd you get the cup from? Is that from the Middle East?
It is. That is from a Middle Eastern shop in Michigan, and I bought this tea set. It's have you ever been to Dearborn, Michigan?
No, I haven't.
It is the most Arab and the most Muslim city in the
United States. Yeah. They don't actually have Sharia law there, right? I've heard
Sharia law there.
I've heard that's the thing that people wanted.
My friends who are women who were there did not have to cover up their hair or get shot. The only time they could cover up their hair was when we went into the mosque there, which is it's actually the largest mosque in the entire in both Americas, actually. They were very, very respectful. They were excited that there were outsiders who weren't scared of them coming in to try.
That's nice.
And we walked into the mosque and the imam there was like, "Oh wow, such a diverse group. I'm so happy to see you guys in here." So very nice, very respectful.
Well, that's cool.
Amazing food. Amazing food. If you never had, I mean, you had Lebanese food. I know you had weddings, so.
Oh yeah.
A lot of Lebanese, a lot of Yemeni food. That was so good.
I would like to try Iraqi food at some point. I know a guy who was in Afghanistan, and he talked about like everything was cooked in oil, you know, and like they just boil everything in oil. And he's like, it's terrible for you, but it's so good.
My dad he was in Iraq, and he's an archaeologist, so he does a lot of archaeology out there. And I grew up on he would make an Iraqi chai, which was
it's lit. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not a fan of the sort of like spicy tea. That's what people mean. That's what people mean when I know I don't want to just say chai because chai means tea, but the spice. What?
Spiced chai.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of it.
Oh, I love that stuff. That's where we get some nice relativism, some subjective beauty there. I find a spiced chai
Yeah, I'm a troglodyte and I have no taste. That's why I'm drinking Coke.
Oh wow, Coke while I'm sipping out of my Middle Eastern tiny teacup.
Yeah. Well, it's a nice little cup. It says it's from, what's that?
Kind of looks like a whiskey glass. Like
Yeah, it says it's from Arby's though. So,
well, I love Arby's, so there we go.
what were we talking about a second ago?
I don't know. I was just you noticed my teacup and you asked what I was drinking. I don't know what we were talking. Oh, we were talking about Catholicism and universal.
Oh yeah, yeah. So that's cool. I don't know where I was going with that.
Yeah, we can move on. I don't know.
What were we talking about before that? I know I mentioned icons because of but it's that idea of like the essence. Like you can't just grasp essence; it has to be embodied.
Human mind's ability to grasp, and understand.
Actually, can I give it like a illustration?
Those matches.
Yeah, those are matches.
Can you see? Fire indoors.
I am actually. Can you see this candle?
No, I cannot. Now I
there.
Can.
Okay. So, okay.
Smells great.
What's that?
Smells great.
Okay. Oh, thanks. No, it's a non-scented candle. Can you see this?
Yeah.
I hope this comes through. So, like, tell me this is right. It's like the non-structuralist people, right? What they want is like they want to capture the smoke.
Yeah.
Right? But you can't capture the smoke.
Correct.
At all. The only way to have it is like, that's why like the flame is perfect, because the only way to have it is that sort of union between like the like sort of spirit and matter, the heaven and earth, the structure and identity. Yeah, that's the only way that you can actually experience it, you know. But I don't know, that's a bad example.
No, I see what you mean. It kind of is, but I see what you mean. I understand it.
Yeah.
So if you're sort of trying to be anti-structuralist rather than, well, because I would consider myself anti-structuralist, but I'm not. Mm-hmm. But I don't hate the structure.
Okay.
Not like some people do, where some art where you see where the whole point is that all structure is bad, and then it just all looks the same, where it's just like a splat of paint on it.
Oh yeah.
Because there's no structure to it.
Yeah.
And I can't appreciate abstract minimalism. There's some great abstract artists, but they all have some form of structure to them. They have some idea behind it. I know a woman who had these beautiful abstract wax paintings. She would paint with wax, and would have these layers of texture and color and really great stuff. Abstract and really great. I love this stuff. But there's still a little structure to that.
Yeah. Do you feel like this might have something to do with well, yeah, it probably has something to do. Do you think the Reformation influenced it?
Influenced
the I guess everything that led up to this idea of where we're like really into maybe I should backtrack a little bit. I personally find like the song "I'll Fly Away."
Yeah.
I find that like to be bad theology, you know, because a lot of American Christians have the idea that like your end goal is heaven.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, no, you're Christ like made you to have a body, you know. So you're
Christ-like on earth and be an example.
Yeah. Exactly. So like you're so you're like humans were made with a body to be some like spirit, ethereal kind of floating around and everything. Like that's not what you're supposed to be, you know. So like
anti-dualism, I love it.
What? No, I don't know. Christianity is non-dualist, you know.
Exactly.
So like, and what's that?
But some people kind of treat it like it's dualist.
They do, yeah.
Like the body is just gonna die and be on Earth, and it's worthless, and all that spirit, we're gonna leave that. And
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
I think most people, they think that's what Christianity is.
Yeah.
And there's a tendency to think that like, there's a tendency to think that like I guess as if there's really like a battle between like the devil and God, as if that's like a real thing, you
Like
know?
God actually struggles fighting against.
Yeah, yeah, as if like as if good and evil are actually like a thing that like
Yeah,
are
these
opposing each other.
that are fighting for control over the earth in this epic
Mm-hmm.
battle. You see that a lot in fiction, where people
Mm-hmm.
have bad theology and they're through in that sort of regard.
Yeah. It's like, oh, this guy's a. It's like the movie They Live, where it's just like, oh yeah, these guys are just bad guys. You know,
Yeah,
they're evil. It's business or whatever.
almost
I don't
like
know.
Satan is like an equal but opposite version of God. Like it's sort of yin yang or something, where God
Yeah.
is light and Satan is darkness, and it's this sort of grappling to create balance in the universe. Sort of like,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I don't.
Yeah. Whereas like, yeah, I don't know where I was going to go with that. No, whereas this is sort of like early church idea. I don't know who said it. It might have been. I don't want to get the name wrong, but there's this idea that like God allows. Well, no, this is even in James too. God allows you to, or no, count it all joy when you face various trials and temptations, because that brings forth repentance and perfection and whatnot. Like that idea, like that's a non-dualist
Yeah,
idea, you know. So like no, so the idea that like with the cross, the idea that death can be turned into glory, and that like your the evil inflicted upon you can be like turned into something, you know, that you know what I mean?
yeah, and then
Yeah.
I was gonna say that sort of idea you see, at least I've seen in the argument for art and certain ways that I've seen, they get dualist where there's this a lot of the people who are no offense but trad types, which is why I don't go with a lot of the trad guys on
Mhm.
online. They
Wait, which kind of trad guys?
the kind that's not like you, because
Oh,
when you
okay.
said trad, that threw me off. I was like, no,
Yeah. No, no, because I'm like conservative adjacent, but I'm not like political. I'm
yeah,
just traditional, you know.
you're not like a raging racist.
No, there's that too.
A lot of the trad guys are really racist. It's weird,
Mhm.
but they sort of have this idea where what they say is it's this dualism of ugly is evil and beauty is good. And so there's a sort of intrinsic tie between aesthetics and morality. And so if something's
Mhm.
morally beautiful, it has to be aesthetically beautiful and vice versa. And so you see this sort of weird dualistic thing where they use a lot of modernism, specifically brutalism, as as an example where they see like there's this I know you're not on social media, but there's this account called Trad West that shares
Mhm.
things on Facebook and Twitter, and they post things where it'll be like this picture of some beautiful European traditional city or something, some building in Germany or France or Portugal or something like that. And then they'll
Mhm.
show this new building that's like brutalist or modernism. And it's like, oh, see what the world's coming to. They're trying to destroy beauty. They're trying
Mhm.
to, evil's taking over the world by destroying beauty and eradicating it. And this is all ugly and it's all morally ugly and it's all aesthetically ugly because it's demonic or satanic or evil or some sort
Mhm.
of. And if we go back to the time when aesthetic beauty ruled the world,
Mhm.
that is also a time when moral beauty ruled the world.
Yeah.
This weird dualistic thing
Hmm.
to get into.
Yeah.
And
So.
their values are just like repurposed Greco-Roman values, and they don't
Mhm.
have any connection to Christianity or to the Bible, really. They try to
Mhm.
put it in there because they claim to be Christian. A
Yeah.
lot of them, a lot of them will convert to Orthodoxy or Catholicism.
Mhm.
They see that as the ultimate tradition and everything.
Mhm.
And they see that as because it's traditional, it's beauty, it's the ultimate trad, it's the ultimate
Mhm.
classic sort of thing. And then they'll try to fit that in there, but it's really not Christian at all because the Greco-Roman culture was a pagan culture.
Mhm.
If pagan culture can create all this thing that you guys consider to be the epitome of beauty,
Mhm.
then clearly things that are wrong or even morally ugly can create beautiful aesthetically beautiful art.
Mhm.
And another way is, Satan is supposed to be a deceiver. He's supposed to be an angel, a beautiful angel. And yet he is the embodiment, right? He's
Mhm.
sort of this he's not this, ugly,
Yeah.
horns and he's a destroyer. He's something that would probably be aesthetically beautiful, but morally ugly.
Yeah.
And so I
And
can
that,
see where they're coming from with that.
okay, I see. I see. What do you think about, are you ever like drive through like like a neighborhood that looks like it was built up kind of organically from like the 30s to the 70s or whatnot, and then you see they put those like weird narrow like condos. You know what I'm talking about? Those like very boxy kind of homes.
The neighborhood where I'm from in
City.
was it was a 1900s Renaissance neighborhood, or Renaissance revivalist neighborhood, and it has all these old buildings. And then when I went back there recently and visited, when I was in school, I walked through this neighborhood that I grew up in. When I was there, it was a very poor neighborhood, very terrible neighborhood. There's gang shootouts outside your house. We've had bullets fly through our house at one point.
Yeah.
And I go now, it's very gentrified, and a lot of those old buildings are torn down, and they're filled with those condos. And
Yeah.
I don't like that, because it feels like they destroyed the organic neighborhood and replaced it with $500,000 condos or whatever.
I didn't, honestly, I didn't know that you grew up like that, but that does make sense now.
Because I'm so insane and demented.
No, a little bit, but I think it's partly the that sort of like rejection to just be sort of a passively modern, like I guess like everyone else tends to be, But I was gonna ask about those like very square condos. So when Jacob and I were talking about like what people regard as like attractive faces,
Yeah,
I referenced some book or whatever,
where it's
and
generic,
what's that?
where it's sort of a generic, not to fit in with this very generic, narrow mold, and that's what people find most attractive.
Well, yeah, I think I said something like as they would make a composite of all the faces, and as the differences kind of vanished, we would find that face to be more and more and more attractive. But it doesn't work with like a AI created like perfectly symmetrical face. So it's something like it's either something less than symmetry or something beyond symmetry.
I would say something beyond symmetry, where
So,
familiar with chaos theory.
what? Well, I'm very bad with like philosophical terms, but if you explain it, I kind of go like, oh yeah, that's like this.
Chaos theory is like everything is, to put it simply, because it's a very complex like mathematical thing, which I don't really do well with mathematical, but it's sort of that everything has a pattern to it in some way. Everything has some sort of structure to it, and everything is built off of that. And so you have all of these. Every different thing is built off of its own chaotic structure, its own chaotic pattern, and this whole world is just this intermingling of super intricate, chaotic patterns that very difficult for us to even see or know. And I would say that that's something that's natural. Something that's natural exhibits this chaos theory, where, like a garden, if you have this beautiful garden where all these things are growing together naturally, even though it's not perfectly symmetrical or it's not perfectly balanced, which again, that's classicalism is what their idea of beauty is, things that are balanced and symmetrical, perfect, but a garden is beautiful, and it's not that. It is this explosion of color, aesthetic, and natural beauty. The face of
saying all that makes me want to talk about. I was going to talk about this last week when I was talking to you. Ancient biblical cosmology, which I'm very into. Have you heard about that?
I've heard of it, like slightly.
So like the Bible never actually talks about creation ex nihilo. Did you know that? It kind of alludes to it in Paul does at some point, but like in Genesis, it never says God created it out of nothing. It says God created it out of. It says the earth was tohu vavohu, which is like disordered, chaos. So he made it out of like just this disordered matter. You ever heard about that before?
I have not.
Yeah, so I wonder if I can share my screen and I can draw like a chart. I like drawing charts. Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm curious now.
Okay. So it says in the beginning there was tohu vavohu, sort of disorganized chaos. It says formless and void, but more like disorganized chaos is a better way of describing it. So there's just all this whatever, just crap, just crap everywhere. It says God separated the waters above from the waters below. So imagine there's all this stuff up here, all this stuff down here, and he just cut it in half. And he separated the waters from the water. And God called the expanse heaven. This top one is what heaven is. And the waters below, this is the chaos below. But he made dry land. So you have this, heaven up here. You have earth down here.
Well, is it heaven or the heavens, as in like the skies?
The heavens. But it really doesn't make that much of a distinction in Genesis. It
So
doesn't make
for a physical heaven or
I'm gonna be honest. So this will probably be this will sound like a bad answer, but like this is just what it says. So like I'm not into I view scripture as literal.
Yeah.
And I take it seriously. But that doesn't mean that it was presented to us in like a scientific way.
No.
Does that make sense? So like I think another way of explaining it is scripture is not like a history textbook or a science book, but I think historiography, is that the right word?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that'd be a better way of describing it, because it's presented in a way because of there's a theological point that's being made. Because I'll be completely honest, I don't think God thinks it's important that we know exactly how he did it.
No, I completely agree.
Yeah, but there's a purpose for what, for the way that it's presented, because I think that's what matters. So yeah. Anywho, I know that's probably like a controversial opinion on it, though.
It might be. I'm with you on that. I don't think it's necessary to salvation.
Yeah. And then, okay, so what you see when it's creating the heaven and earth, when it creates the earth, there's a tendency for it to start high and then go to low, and then high and low and high and low. And there's this sort of like cascading decrescendo of creation. And it says, let there be lights in the expanse, stars, so that's the sun and the moon. And that's another high. And then it goes, let there be fish and creatures and sea monsters that swarm in the waters. Then it's low again. Eventually, it has this sort of pattern of like going from high to low to high to low to high, until it's sort of like there's this decrescendo until it gets to where it creates man. And man is created as sort of the like mediator between heaven and earth, because God forms him from the dust of the earth, so brings up the dust, and then he breathes his spirit or his breath down from heaven, and then there's man. Does that make any sense, what I'm saying?
It does, but I'm not, at the same time, I'm not sure I quite grasp it.
Okay, so I'll keep going. We were talking about the structuralism. There's this pattern throughout Genesis where it's about like there's the material stuff, there's the matter down here, and then there's the spirit up here, this sort of abstract whatever.
Yeah.
There's the breath. So when God creates man, he just takes all the chaos, he takes all the dust, the dirt, like when we die we become dust, right? So he takes the sort of like death, this dust, this whatever, and then he breathes the breath, the spirit, it descends from heaven, and there's this meeting in between, and that's what makes the object. So like when you imagine, and then when God gives Adam his job, he tells him to name the animals. So those animals, they're going to come up to him, and then there's some abstract thing. It doesn't have an identity yet. That's what names are. Names are the identity. And then his job is to give the thing identity. And that's when the creation, that's when it like exists as a thing. Does that make any sense?
Sort of.
I probably should have prefaced earlier that like in this whole creation account, like God doesn't really create a lot of stuff. A lot of it is like setting things in order.
So you were kind of coming off of chaos theory when you
Yes, yeah.
you were
So like much of creation is like you take this chaos and then
something
and organize it into a thing,
The thing that I'm not quite getting is, where does the chaos come from beforehand?
Like,
what put this chaos there for God to form things from?
So it doesn't say, but I would just say like God created it. But I don't think the chaos is bad.
No, yeah, it's not. No,
yeah.
Chaos. It has a bad, but chaos isn't bad.
Yeah, it's just the potential. Yeah. So chaos theory is it? I thought I would be able to explain that better. Do you think there's something there with that idea that like the material comes up and then the meaning, the identity of the thing descends, and then that meeting between heaven and earth, that's kind of where the creation exists, in that union between there's the matter and then the essence descends.
Yeah, I can see where you're going with that. I can see how there could be a connection with chaos theory, but I honestly don't think I could have any productive thoughts on that at the moment, because that's a little,
yeah. I'll have to think about that. I have to probably smooth that out, that whole stuff. But
no, that is really interesting. I'm gonna look into that a little more.
Yeah, I can give you a book if you wanted to. Like, I can tell you a book about it. So there's the main person is do you have Audible?
I don't know if I do or not. I think I did at one point.
I usually you read physical books. Okay, yeah. Well, this one was free.
Because I have real books.
Yeah, you're real. Whatever. Yeah, I have so I just use free books all the time.
That's a great idea.
That's why I mentioned Audible, because this one's free. So it's on Audible for free. It's called The Lost World of Genesis 1 by John Walton. Now I read it thinking that it was going to be some like Answers in Genesis kind of book.
And I was like a conspiracy theory type book.
Yeah, I was thoroughly surprised, because it like immediately was talking about like the ancient world. They viewed things about like they viewed creation as being more about function rather than like the essence was something that like transcends the object, but it's also within it. Like, it's not solely within the, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like he was talking about like functional ontology. That's how they would have viewed the world, not like a material ontology. So yeah, I was thoroughly surprised.
What's the can you spell the surname for me, because I couldn't quite catch that?
A Walton, Walton. Okay. John. Yeah.
You said like Rowan or something.
Yeah, no, he's made a lot of books. So I don't know if you're this way too, but I typically can't grasp an idea until I read all the author's books. So
yeah, you got to have a grand view of what they're trying to say.
Yeah, I'm not as good at describing it, but I've read half of this stuff.
Yeah, if I could read that would help me out a lot more.
Yeah. So another one is so yeah, no one ever says it explicitly, like this sort of the essence and the matter, like heaven and earth is just basically being synonymous with spirit and matter, or meaning and matter. No one says it as explicitly, but there's a book called Language of Creation. That one says it just very plainly, like that's what's going on.
This meeting is being recorded.
Thank you.
Dude, I'm sorry. Yeah, but that's lit. So how long has this been going on? How long have we been recording? Like an hour. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you got to go or anything, or?
Oh, I've got time. I'm gonna hold you here till 12 a.m.
Dude, that'd be kind of cool. No, I don't mind. Yeah, no, I'm gonna be honest. I might just like edit around that middle part.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah.
I felt like I wasn't prepared for that, but it was also a little boring to me saying it.
That's where all the listeners cut off.
Yeah, no, I can tell something like that would be. Yeah.
No, but we were getting into you were talking about, there was something I wanted to add when you were talking about the, how people find faces attractive or whatever, and it's like a very generic.
Oh yes. Yeah,
so,
dude,
something I wanted to get into. So are you familiar with vexillography?
No.
Okay, so dude, vexillology.
You know all these terms. I don't know any philosophy terms or any math or whatever.
Well, vexillology is just the study of flags. Vex is flags in Latin, but vexillography is the design of flags specifically. Mm-hmm. And there's sort of this movement within the flag design, within the vexillography community, where
All right, sorry.
it's a real thing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
They've created this set of rules for what makes a good flag design, right? And it's very simplistic. And whenever you see people trying to design flags within these rules, they become the most bland, generic flags possible. So specifically here in the United States, people are trying to get a lot of the state flags redesigned, because if you look at places like Ohio, we have an awesome looking flag. Places like New Mexico, Arizona, cool looking flags, right? Colorado, Texas. Everyone else just kind of has their state seal on a blue background. And so people get bored with that and they're like, there's nothing that speaks about our state. And I can see where they're coming from with that. I kind of agree to an extent. But then they create these new versions for it that it's basically just like a star in a line. And they repurpose the same design for every single flag. And it's just because this is what the North Ecological Association has determined are these rules for how you design a flag.
Wow, okay.
And everybody's trying to design within those rules, and they're just the most boring, bland flag. Everybody goes nuts over them, and I just don't. So I think sort of a similar. I don't even know where I'm going with this. I just wanted to.
Yeah. No. I like that. I'll add on that. But what if California's flag, they redid theirs? Because theirs, I like theirs. It's like the bear. I think it's okay. But if they were to redo it, I think to better kind of capture the essence of California, it could be like two he bears kissing.
Oh yeah, perfect. That would be no, but that's actually a really good example of. So one of the NAVA's rules is that there should be no text on a flag at all, and that makes it that they like take away points for if there's text on a flag, it's horrible. But California has a really sick looking.
I like it. Yeah,
you've got that the Republic of California down there in that cool looking font.
Yeah, I mean,
it breaks their rules, but it's still an aesthetically beautiful and flag. And I don't.
Well, yeah, like I thought the Gadsden flag was pretty metal until everyone started using it, but
but that is like it's got that "don't tread on me." It's got that text.
It's lit.
It also breaks their rules on simplicity because it's got a complex image of the snake on there or whatever.
Yeah, I think I keep wanting to grab this candle and drink out of it. I think the reason why I brought up all the stuff about the Bible. Also, are you muted?
Am I?
Oh no, you're fine. Okay. I think the reason why I brought up the stuff about the Bible was because
oh, hold on. Actually, I'm connecting to audio on my thing.
No, you're fine. I can hear you.
Oh, I am connected.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, never mind. Sorry. Go back.
Yeah. No, sorry. Okay. Yeah, the reason why I brought up the Bible was because this is at least my theory of why we find certain things maybe
attractive in some way.
Yeah. So you have the when the creation is the sort of perfect mediation between heaven and earth, or that sort of ethereal. Like imagine like if I blow out this candle and the smoke rises up, it's ascending into heaven. Like think of it that idea. So like the things that go up are more ethereal and sort of misty, and then when it comes down, it has to like find like something to embody it. So if you think of like creation as this sort of like dance between almost like the Tao, like the Taoist symbol. The almost like that sort of perfect mediation between the heaven and earth, because those things they go together. Like neither one is bad, but you can't have an excess of one or the other. And with like let's say like the perfect, let's say everything's perfectly symmetrical. They think like, oh, it's a perfectly symmetrical face. It's the one that's like the most beautiful face. It's almost like a sort of like satanic sort of thinking that you can encapsulate all of creation within itself. Does that make any sense? What I'm trying to get at?
I see where you're going with that. Yeah,
like an almost kind of like Tower of Babel sort of thing.
Perfection can be contained in itself rather than creation and
something else.
Yeah, and the uncreated.
Yeah, so it's like, and that's the reason why there's a Sabbath. Do you know that? So like in the ancient world, they would have counted as like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They would have counted the digits with their thumb. And so they had a base 6 system or base 12 or
Yeah.
everything's more divisible, right? So that makes
Right.
sense. That's why everything's like 72, 60, whatever, Yeah, that's why they had all those numbers. But like in a sort of a theological understanding that emerged was they had some like rules in the Torah about like you have to leave the remainder on your fields for the stranger to kind of glean the field, or you leave a fringe on your garment. So like you don't want to try to encapsulate the margin or the excess, because it's sort of like you're overreaching, and if you do that, you're gonna like create your own kind of Babel like civilization that'll just collapse. This is all kind of abstract, but you kind of see where I'm going with that.
Oh yeah, I do. That's interesting.
Yeah, I wonder if there's some connection with that.
I don't know.
Whereas like the idea of like a Sabbath is like, it's a day of rest, and you're counting
kind of that excess.
You're leaving room for the chaos, basically, right?
Rather than trying to encapsulate it all.
Yeah, and like even the practical example is like crop rotation or something, because there's an idea that like you give the land should have a Shabbat. You give the land like a year of rest every seventh year.
Yeah.
So like that idea, you have to just like leave it be rather than trying to, because if you keep going with it, you're going to kill it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. It'll be, and you can think of that sort of like those constraints as that's suffocating the thing itself, like the flags.
It's suffocating the true creativity, the natural beauty that you can come forth from these designs, and it's kind of suffocating, restricting it into it has to fit into this box to be perfect.
Yeah.
And when it does fit into that box, is all this.
Mm-hmm. Man,
you made that connect into something way better than I thought. When I finished that talk, I was like, I don't know where that's going, but you made that connect really well.
Oh, the flags?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah. No, I thought it connected. I thought it would connect to that, but I'm actually surprised that all that makes you sound like a crazy person saying any of that stuff.
It really does.
Like
anytime you go into philosophy, you sound like an insane.
Yeah, but especially like because I'm really into like specifically like Old Testament stuff,
Yeah,
and especially when you take the Old Testament seriously, you sound like a crazy person, So like if someone's like, oh, was the flood like worldwide, or was it like a location thing? I don't care. I really don't care. But like the certain like the stories that are told, I do take those seriously. So yeah, I probably sound insane half the time.
That's just Josh. Just let him keep talking about his thing, and we're gonna go.
Yeah, and then the UFOs, and then when the demons had sex with the ladies, and they made the giants.
Yeah, and they made the giant exactly, and those
were
actually the demons were actually aliens.
Yeah, the demons. There was a time my wife and I. Okay, no, she was this was like when we were first married, and I was just watching some show one time. I don't watch a lot of TV, but I was just watching Ancient Aliens. Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I thought I could tell you're very uncultured.
Yeah, no, I am. I was watching like Ancient Aliens because it's free, and I like free stuff. And my wife, she like walked past the TV. I think she was like working on a college assignment or something. And so she didn't pay much attention to it, but she just saw like, oh, it's like a documentary. It's probably some like, I felt like honored because she assumed it was some kind of like brainy nerd thing.
Thought it was something smart, something.
Yeah, something that a respectable adult would spend their time on. Yeah. And when at one time she was like, I was like, hey, let's just watch this show together or whatever, because she was like, she wanted to watch something and I didn't know what to watch, so we put it on. And she, up until this point, she thought it was some respectable, show. And the episode was about the number 12, and they go, why is it that the number 12 keeps appearing throughout history? And these are their examples. They start, there were 12 tribes of Israel. And they go, there were 12 apostles. And then she looks at me, she goes, this is stupid.
She's like, what did I just get myself?
What are you watching?
I give the ring back.
He's like, yeah, for better or for worse, this is worse than worse.
I did not sign up for this.
Yeah. 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 I feel like we're getting into a lull in conversation.
Probably. I
Yeah.
can bring something. There was something else I was going to say.
Yeah. No, I mean, I
I've
don't
been
have
like running through this in my head all week, like stuff that
really,
yeah.
dude. I mean, I don't have any issue just like chatting or anything too. But yeah. Also, you can.
Oh, I remembered an author's name because whenever you come to me in person and you ask for author names, they go blank. Completely forget. I forget every book I've ever read. I forget everything.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I like stuff. I like philosophy but we were talking about cultural relativism.
This meeting is being recorded.
Dude, I wonder if I can turn it off. I'm sorry, man.
See, she's out to get me. She's cutting me off.
Yeah.
But we were talking about cultural relativism, and I remembered the name of the guy who's considered the father of cultural relativism. It's Franz Boas. He's a Austrian, I believe, Victorian Austrian dude, Franz Boas, and he's kind of considered the father of cultural relativism. So I was going to suggest you. I've got one of his books right.
It's sideways. Oh, okay, cool. Oh, Franz Boas. That's cool. It's lit. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's pretty cool. Yeah. So why was it that you were like, oh, cool, podcast, that'd be lit?
I just like talking to you. You're a very stimulating person to talk to. You also at the same time, I was like, I have all these thoughts in my head that I do with the philosophizing and theorizing and everything. And at the end of the day, I feel like, an total insane person because, like, does this really even make sense? Is it thinking makes sense? And then I say it to you, and you're like, yeah, that makes sense. I want you to come on my podcast. I'm like, yes, I am a rational person. My opinion is valued.
I get the impression sometimes that, this will sound bad. I hope this doesn't sound bad, but that not that people don't understand you, but that like a lot of people don't understand you. Is that true?
Me?
Yeah.
No. Yeah. So and then there's another aspect is like, so one term I kind of live by and kind of organize my philosophy around is, if you don't mind me flexing my Greek skills here, Genuda hotiud noida, which is the Socratic.
Oh yeah,
term.
Totally.
Yeah. I know only that I know nothing. It's the Socratic. And I think that kind of works around in positive ways because, I believe going back to that whole humans can't fully comprehend the world around us. And so I think whenever you do anything, you should approach it from that thing of, I know only that I know nothing. What I know is what I know, and it's what I'm trying to know. But I know that's not even remotely beginning to describe what the whole world is and how the world works. So then negatively, that works against me where I'm like, I'm just an idiot. Why am I even doing this? Why am I trying to understand? I don't know anything.
I honestly, I was thinking about that today actually at work. Because I was actually thinking about recording this, and so like last week when I was talking to you in person, when you left, I remember like I turned to everyone else in the group and I go, he's much smarter than I remember.
Yay.
Yeah. And so sometimes I'll like find myself in conversation and I'll be what's that?
With yourself or with other people?
Oh, both. No. I think I'll be completely honest. Like, I think that I'm an idiot. I'm not even making a joke or anything or false humility. I kind of do. So I'll be surprised when I'm like talking to somebody. I'm like, do I actually understand? I understand that. Why do I understand that? Or like, why is what I'm saying like not completely crazy?
That's exactly how I feel talking to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because like when I was thinking about this like recording earlier today, I was wondering like, is this actually going to go well? Like, will I actually understand what I'm talking about? Yeah.
I feel like I've understand less than what you've said than you seem to be fully grasping everything I've said. But
well, I'd say that's partly because I'm not like the best communicator. I'm I'm much better, and you might have seen this too, just if you listen to all the stuff I've made. I'm much better with getting the gist of something than
Oh, yeah.
with the details. I'm very bad at details.
Well,
But
the key to understanding something is to first get the gist and then the hammer out.
yeah. Have I ever told you about how I read?
I don't think you have.
I the way that I read is I'm not like systematic with anything. So like when I want to read like I've been reading Rene Girard, which I mentioned. I read two of his books
Yeah, I think
already.
I mentioned that on the
Mm,
podcast.
yeah, so
Yeah.
like I want to read I'm just going to read all of his books, and then another guy who wrote a book about his work, just so I can kind of just create this sort of network of stuff, and then that's when like you pull the thread together, then I kind of get it,
Yeah.
rather than starting. I can't like comprehensively understand a text like the first time around, or even the second time around. I have to get like all those other secondary, tertiary sort of information.
No, that's good
So
though. You actually don't just like see something and then take that out of context and run with it like a lot of
yeah,
people.
well, I'm also like, and I do mean this when I say this. I think that compared to a lot of my friends, I don't think that I'm like as intelligent as them in regards to just like actual like ability and potential, but I read a lot. So that's like my only.
I
I
don't know.
think.
I mean, you
Mm,
can process things. I feel like better than you're at least above average. I guess that's all. I
ah,
feel, right?
no.
At
Well,
the
so
very least, you got to be above average.
I've been reading this book. It's called why why kids hate school or something like that. Why students hate school, and he's talking about like you know like the more like kind of pretentious people, they get really into no, they need to like do Socratic method with their learning. So and they have to you know
I
right.
know exactly what you mean. That's sort of
And
the anti-structuralist get
yeah.
me. Engine.
And he's like yeah, but like if they don't have like a foundation, like if they don't, to bring it back to this analogy I was using other earlier, if they don't have this sort of like material stuff down here, any of this ideas aren't going to connect to anything at all.
Yeah, you
You
can't just
know.
give a child theory and expect them to understand
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. No, exactly. So I think much of like I think because I read a lot, so I have a lot of like things to connect it to. I think I really do mean that. I think it is just that.
I mean, intelligence is the processing of information. It's not exactly just
Yeah.
knowledge or memorization, and you seem to process it.
Yeah.
You're you're smart. You're definitely smarter than the your average pundit that you watch, and you're
Oh.
watching pundits, and they just like say
Ooh.
something dumb. They just I feel like they can't grasp like complex
Yeah.
concepts. I don't get it.
No. Yeah. Yeah. um. Uh. Yeah. How do you feel about? Actually, wanted to ask you about this. You don't. I don't think you're probably not like a Daily Wire fan, are you?
No, I am not.
Yeah.
I have some choice words to say about
Yeah.
Maya.
I find that the format
That's exactly
it'll
who when I was saying that pundits
yeah.
are very smart.
You really? Yeah. No. I find that like the format. So like someone like Michael Knowles, I think Michael Knowles is very bright,
Yeah,
but I think the format they make him seem like an idiot. You know?
it could be the formatting because he does. Yeah, he has moments where it's like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
actual intelligence, and he's
Yeah. It's always when he's on other podcasts. There's other podcasts. He's always the smartest guy in the room. Yeah. But like the guy went to Yale, so
yeah, he's got to have some sort of
yeah. But like the thing that I find like really like frustrating now are those I don't want to say specific names, but you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm not a fan of like conservative girls, you know.
I
I
know
really don't like it because there's what?
you're sexist.
Yeah, no, because I am sexist. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm very sexist. But no, it's because they'll like they'll like they'll look smugly upon like their contemporaries while also sitting on the shoulders of Ben Shapiro.
exactly. Yes, I know exactly what you mean. Yes.
Yeah, it's like they'll be like how have they never heard about the Pareto distribution? It's like you only know about that because you heard Jordan Peterson talk about
Yeah.
it.
I can't stand that thing where it's very pretentious, where it's like you have to know all of these big terms in order to be intelligent or in order to understand concepts. It's like
Mhm.
you can you don't even have to know the labels of things. A lot of the things that I know the labels of now, it's like I was studying things, I was trying to understand things, and then I found out that I had a label for it, and then I can memorize it in my head and drop it in a podcast so I look super
Yeah.
smart. Have you ever heard of chaos theory? Look how
Yeah. I'm not very good with yeah, I have several bookshelves. No, I only have one. I don't read physical books, to be honest with you.
Yeah, because I'm better.
Yeah, no, because you're smarter than I am. I think you are, but I mostly listen
You
to.
just made me look bad because I was joking, and now you're just agreeing with my joke.
No, I was listening to. No, I only listen to audiobooks, like, ever. So that's the thing that I don't like it, because I don't admit that, because this will probably sound bad, because like normies, they'll go, he doesn't read real books and he talks about reading.
That's why I joke about that when you about me reading real books and you not. Like, it's the
Yeah,
same thing. It's just
yeah,
the way you process information.
hmm
I
yeah.
just
But
prefer physically reading it. You prefer listening to it.
yeah, for me, it's more like a practical thing. But I also like I don't like sitting down for a while and just reading.
Fair.
But yeah, dude, we've been going
Kind of
for a
read
little while.
fast, so
What?
I can kind of read fast, so it's a little easier for me to sit.
I see. Well, I mostly listen to stuff at like really fast speeds too. So like I can't listen to anything. I actually can't listen to anything less than 2x speed
Oh
at
wow.
all.
Well, then
Yeah, yeah.
problem. I shouldn't be talking very slow. I was talking way too slow for you, so I'm going to just keep talking at this pace.
Yeah, that's fine, man. That's cool. Yeah. No, yeah, we've been going for a bit for a while. I mean, if you want to keep going, I probably have to get going soon, but
Okay, yeah. Sorry, I don't want to keep you up.
oh, you're fine, man. No, but this is
We have to
actually
do
pretty
this
lit.
another time though, because there's
What?
more. We have to do this again another time because there's stuff I haven't touched up.
I know, yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I bet there's like a billion things that you have to say. But I just spent so much time talking about just nerd stuff like whiskey and whatever.
Whiskey.
No, yeah, but yeah, I don't know what's in this Coke, but I started feeling like really like I usually don't let myself get so like abstract, because I feel like I get really weird.
No, I love it. I know what you mean though, because I feel like the same way whenever I try to talk about abstract concepts, and it's like you feel weird, you feel a little conspiracy-ish, you feel like
Yeah,
idiot, and then
yeah. Well, it almost feels like well, actually, no, it feels like exposing a little bit.
it
You
does.
know?
It feel very exposing. It's like you don't want to
Mhm.
let that side of yourself be visible.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because also it's like if let's say if I talk about like Old Testament stuff as if it actually matters, people are gonna think I'm like an Answers in Genesis kind of guy, and I'm not. I mean,
And you don't want
I
to be perceived that way.
well, like, and I something I'll say is I respect their commitment to like, from their perspective, upholding the what's the right word, upholding scripture, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I respect that, because I think that their faith in that regard was better than mine. But I mean, that's not the reason why I don't believe that perspective anymore. But still, yeah, I don't want. That's not what I am, and I don't want to be kind of lumped into that group.
No, I get that because sometimes you say something and from someone else's perspective, the way that they're going to see that, they're going to immediately just lump it in with other things they know. They're not going to
Yeah,
take the word as its word. They're not going to take it on its own or even put it in with the context of who you are and what you've said in the past. They're going to hear what you say, associate it with other things, and immediately have this biased, almost stereotyped view of you.
Mhm.
I think that's what actually a problem in all modern discussion is, or not even just modern, all discussion is, when we talk to people, we don't see them as individuals with individual reasoning and thoughts for what they believe. We see them as sort of this demographic, and we align them with this demographic. Oh, you're just a conservative. Oh, you're just a liberal. Oh, you're just a Christian. Oh, you're just this, you're just that. And you don't actually take time to think through why they believe what they believe. If someone, that's why back to the almost to the relativistic sort of thing, like a lot of conservatives very hard on leftists. It's like, oh, they're just evil. They're just trying to destroy the country. They're trying to destroy the world. A leftist has in perfectly reasonable reasons for why they believe what they believe. They legitimately believe that what they believe is the best form of what they know, in the same way that a conservative believes the same way. And when you actually look at why people believe what they believe, instead of just viewing them hatefully or spitefully as this other person over there who's against me, you can, break down barriers. And I feel like that's almost a more Christ-like way to discuss, is to not just associate them with their demographic or lump them in with someone else. Treat them like an individual who has reasons for what they believe.
Yeah. It's like, dang, I feel like I'm going to have to get abstract again.
Go for it.
You know what it feels like? It's like you ever seen Danny Phantom, where he goes like, I'm going ghost. And then never mind. I probably sounded really dumb saying that.
No, you're good.
But, there's a story. Okay, no, I'm going to use the Tower of Babel as an example again. The unity of the people itself is not bad, because people should be united under something. It's the aim is the problem. So like
build up to God. I see people make criticisms of like, oh, why is God okay with satellites and spaceships if he wasn't okay with the Tower of Babel? Because these people are reaching the heavens. It's not about what they were doing, why they were doing it.
Yeah, why they're doing it. So like I always think of it like as if like piece of paper. I think of it like if what you're aiming at is like all the way up here, here, and then you start here, and you don't have like a good trajectory. The further that you go in your line, if it's crooked, even if it looks straight for a while, it will end up, off.
Yeah, you're going to be way off your target.
Yeah. So, and that's probably like the example with like, no, I won't get into that. Anywho, yeah, the unity itself is good, because people should be united under something. So that's why probably I would be against the idea of all forms are bad. Like all.
Yeah, exactly.
And but yeah,
good in some way. Obviously, I'm not relativistic, because I believe that what objective truth we can know is.
Yeah. So where I would go with that though is there's a story in the Gospels where there's that like the woman who comes to Christ and like anoints his head with that expensive bottle of perfume, and then Judas was like, what is she doing? Why is we could have sold that, we could have whatever. And his aim in Jesus like chastises him and says like, oh, what she did is a good thing, I won't always be here. The poor will always be there, but I won't always be here. And you have this image of like aiming at helping the poor. That's your only aim. Like, but that's not Christ. That's not beyond. So it's this idea of like the sort of like 6 rather than 7. So the 7th accompanies accounts for the thing beyond, the sort of ethereal extra part beyond. The 6th is just you're aiming at here, but eventually this will topple because you don't have anything. If that's all that you're aiming. What's that?
You're not focusing on the grand concept or the.
Yeah.
This meeting is being recorded.
Dude, I'm so sorry. I'll figure out how to turn that off.
I'm gonna find her and kill her or something. I don't know who she is or where she lives.
Yeah. So it's like even if like the poor are here and Christ is here, if it looks like you're aiming at the same thing, this will totter over at some point.
Yeah.
And I'm connecting that with that. What did I just say like a second ago? And I know I was talking about the Tower of Babel, because you were talking about like conservative and liberal and everyone hating each other and everything, right? So like unity itself is good. Well, no, actually, no, it's not. Unity itself is neutral. It's just its own thing. Yeah. The thing that you're aiming at is probably, if that's good, then the unity is good. It depends on I guess telos. Can I say telos? Is that fine?
Yeah.
But and then also like helping the poor is probably good, but like if that stops there, it's gonna teeter totter or fall apart and everything. So like the being united under something, like you can't just be under like helping the poor, or it can't just be united under you
This is
know,
a good cause.
being like, uh, liberal or being conservative or whatever. Like the true, that's why I said that I'm not like the anti-structuralist, because like true unity, it's not like these unities, all these sort of things that we unite around are bad. It's that this thing beyond it is much better. And if we don't like unite under Christ, unite under something that transcends all of us, that is high enough to actually encompass. That's why I was saying last week about like viewing the world through a biblical critical theory. So viewing the world through like a Christ, like a logo-centered view. That's the only one that actually has room for everything.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because it's the highest one.
Everything else is meaningless compared to.
Yeah.
And that's why I believe in the all forms are good sort of thing. Because if the form, it's not about the form itself, it is about the goal. So rather than placing these, kind of rather arbitrarily placing these moral values on a structure or a form, you focus on the goal, which is the true moral. If you're united under Christ and you are doing things to further this unity under Christ, it doesn't matter what form or what structure you're using. It's the goal that matters. And I think that all forms and all structures can be used to glorify God, because this whole world was created by God. So rather than saying things like certain kind of musical styles or artistic styles or things like this cannot be used to glorify God, they are all part of his creation. And if we are doing it for the right purpose and we are doing it correctly and we're not skewing things, we can use any structure, any form we like. And I think I think that's good.
Yeah. I think that this might seem like it doesn't connect, but I think it does. This sort of difference between the sort of suffocating, sort of too confined, too structured, between like this sort of the one that accounts for the the fringe and the extra and whatnot. It's that difference between, or the one that is aiming at the highest goal. It's a difference between like the Pharisees and then what Christ calls us to. So like within like a Christian view, like obviously like if you're aiming to Christ and you're trying to draw closer to him, the righteous falls 7 times but gets up. Whereas the kind of Pharisaical, like, oh, sinner, exactly. Oh, you failed, sinner. And it's like it's not the sin that's like, Christianity is beyond sin. Christianity is about pursuing Christ. So like even like all of these things, they sort of fall away. If your aim is at Christ, all these things will take care of themselves. So that's what he said too. So like seek first the kingdom of God and all these things will handle themselves. So if you struggle with a particular sin, like keep chasing after him, and then, you might struggle, you might crawl, you might whatever, but like you're following him, you're going to figure it out. So
as opposed to this highly structured legalistic system that the Pharisees had, where like you do one bad thing, you slip or you sin, then it's like, sinner, we got you. You're not doing everything perfectly right like we are. You're not fully following the law to a T and dotting all your I's, and we're way better than you because you're not exactly like we are.
Yeah. Well, I think this is probably do you feel like we kind of connected things in the end pretty well?
I think we did. That's a good.
Yeah, I was actually kind of surprised.
I know. I'm happy with the way that we did that.
Yeah,
that was plan.
Yeah, and I'm glad that it ended Christian. Yeah, but I think that you good with this? I'll probably end the recording here.
Yeah, go ahead.